Hello, hi. I'm going to be talking about how to run a company of one. I have a company that I run on my own. I won't talk about the products and stuff that I do, but based on that experience, I will talk about how to do the same if you want to do that. Quick question, how many developers are here? Okay, majority? Okay, that's good. All right. Because it's more geared towards somebody that's a developer, designer, creator, but it works for others too, as I will show in the next one. This is not mine? Okay. All right, so what is a company of one? So a company of one is usually a company that obviously is run by one person, but sometimes it could be a person and another co-founder, so maybe two people. But the idea is not so much about how many people run it. The basic idea is that you're running a small operation that potentially has less expenses, and you're making a lot of money. So that's the idea. So, you have more time for yourself, you can travel, you can take off anytime. Instead of, if you were running a business, which is not really a bad thing, if you're running a company with 20, 30 people, then you sort of have a responsibility towards them if you're involved on a day-to-day basis. Daniel Vassallo is on Twitter. He's one of the people that not started this, but does this very well. He actually works, I think. He has a job, but he also he writes, he has books, he does consulting, webinars, all kinds of things. And he's a sort of one-person operation, and he makes a lot of money. I think his numbers are public. You can check them out. You can just search on Twitter for him and find him. So why? Paul Jarvis is somebody that wrote a book, A Company of One. So as I mentioned, the idea is that you run the business, sort of you set it up based on your lifestyle, and you don't sort of base your lifestyle towards the business. You're making something that fits around what you want to do. If you want to travel, you do something that fits that lifestyle, which I like to do. All right, so the pros, you can take off anytime. It's very simple to run it. You outsource pretty much everything. You outsource accounting. Anything that is automatic, basic, you try to outsource it. So you don't deal with it. And then you have less expenses, which means a lot more money. So you don't have an office. You don't have employees. Like you don't have 20 employees that you have to make sure you have to pay them every month. This is pretty much you. One thing that is very important, which I've figured out over time, is that you have to really be good with money. Like you have to really know how to manage it well, so you can create that cushion for yourself. And if you don't want to work for maybe 6 months, you have the money to do that. So let's say you work for 2 months, and then you can take off, and nothing happens. You don't have to fire anybody. Your business doesn't go down because you manage your money so well that you have the ability to take off for that long. So that's sort of the idea behind all this. And there are a lot of cons. You're working alone, which is very lonely. You don't have somebody to reflect with. Any issues you have, even though you have friends, but they're not invested in your business, so they don't really share your pain. Like they could give you an advice, but it won't be that crucial to what you're trying to do. So that's sort of the downside of all this. And it's not for somebody who's an extrovert. So if you like to be around people, then it's not for you because you're working alone. I like being around people, but not as much. I'm a developer, designer. Most of my day goes with me designing, developing, writing. I also write like a blog. I'm on Twitter a lot. So that's sort of my day. And I like going to lunch with people, but I don't like having people all the time around me. And if you don't like that, then this is not for you probably. So let's move to the one. I said initially when I started the talk that it's mostly for creators. So if you're a designer, developer, writer, this is a great thing. But you can also be an accountant. Let's say you automate your process so well and you only take one profile of clients. You get maybe 50 clients for, I don't know, $100 per month, and it's $5,000 just for you. And all your process is automated, so you're not inventing a new process for every client. So just to show that it's not only for creators. It could be the boring, I don't know if there's an accountant here. There's no accountants here? Okay. So, it could be like the boring professions, accountant, lawyers, whatever. But mostly where I'm coming from is the two parts, the creators and developers. And the reason behind that is I will explain in the next few slides why that is much better than if you're an accountant. All right, so let's move to the next one. So this is a crucial question to ask. There's no wrong answer here. Both are valid. Somebody likes to run a business with a lot of people, be in front of everything, be in front of magazines and whatnot. And somebody just wants to make the same money, but without all that overhead or all the other things. So, if you're thinking about going this way, this is probably like a good question to ask yourself if this is the right way to go. And also one thing I'm not mentioning here, which is, having a job. That could turn into a company of one without quitting your job. Like you can do things on the side that give you that freedom, and eventually you can maybe strike on your own and do these things that I'm talking about. So let's move to the next one. So this is sort of like the steps to higher and higher, like where can you start? Freelancer is a good way to have a company of one. One downside of it is that you're always working. If you're not working, you're not making money. So it depends on you. It depends on your hours, how much you're putting in. Let me go back. One step above that is that, let's say, I mentioned, I think, with accountant, that's sort of like what a productized service is. You package your service in a way that it could be offered as a product, which means that you don't have to do it from the beginning for every client. So let's say you're making logos, right? You make your process in that way that every time you have a new client, you sort of follow these certain steps, and instead of spending maybe 3 weeks to do that logo, you maybe spend a day, but you still charge for the 3 weeks because you're selling value, you're not selling hours. So that's sort of the productized service, sort of the next step above freelance. So you in freelance, you cannot multiply yourself, like you're a single person. You can only work as much during a day. But with a productized service, you can sell more of your time, with that thing that is automated, is repeatable. So that's the next step above that. And also you can do other things which are sort of passive income. You can write an ebook and sell it on Gumroad. For that, you need an audience, so you have to have an audience on Twitter or LinkedIn, like you have a lot of people to follow you for a certain topic. If you were to go this route to sell books, etc., you have to start build an audience around a specific topic. So let's say you start, being on Twitter. You have to stick to something, whatever it is. Let's say maybe this topic that I'm talking about, like this could be it. And when people follow you, they follow you for that one thing only. So when you have 10K, 20K followers, then you can write that ebook or sell the book on Gumroad because those people are waiting for you to do something like that. You don't have all these kinds of different followers where you talk about different topics. You have to really stick on one thing. And then the best thing of all, which I'm currently doing right now, is the software as a service. What the software as a service is how many people know what SaaS is? Okay, great. So basically, it's a software where you charge clients on monthly, yearly basis. An example of that would be, for example, I'll tell you about the product that I used to have, that I sold it. It was a task management app, and people paid for it on monthly basis. And what that does is I can completely take off for a month and nobody would care. Clients wouldn't care. I don't have any employees. If I have any support, I can answer it quickly on my phone, on my laptop, wherever I am. So that's the beauty of SaaS. SaaS is hard. There are two sides to it. There are SaaS products that are B2C, so sold to consumers, and then B2B, which are sold to businesses. The one side with businesses is better because clients pay more and they don't leave as much as consumers do, which is great. You can charge a company for $100 per month. You can have 50 companies like that or 100, and that's a lot of money. And they don't leave as much. It's very hard to get them. That's the downside of it. On B2C, let's say you're selling a product that is $9 per month. It's very hard to reach a big enough pond of people to sell the amount of money that you need for yourself. There's a lot of downsides to B2C, so I usually recommend B2B. Currently, I'm doing a B2C actually, which is very hard. And it's my first time in B2C, but B2B is much easier. Your product has to be really good because your clients could be companies with hundreds of people and they cannot afford for your software not to work. So you have to make sure that it works correctly. And then the other thing is that you can do a combination of all. You can have a SaaS that maybe does $500 per month. You're gonna have an ebook that maybe sells 5,000 one time. And then you can have, you can do freelance, you can do clients all the time. It's very hard. I've tried that mix. It's very hard because you're context switching all the time. You're going from building something to writing a book to growing an audience. And it's very difficult, especially if you have kids, if you're like I am, your time is limited. It's much harder. It's much easier to focus on one thing and then just focus on that. So let's go to the next one. The Sokokom. That's great. All right. There is an approach which you can take. It's called the stair-step approach. You can follow Rob Walling on Twitter. He has, I think, a book about this, but you can find if you even Google it. You can keep your day job. So this is sort of like the strategy, how to go about running a company of one, how to go without quitting your job, risking, your savings, and then hoping something's going to happen because usually it doesn't. So, you have to have like a good enough cushion, good enough amount of money to be able to do this. So this is sort of the safe approach. You keep your day job, whatever you're working, and then at nights, weekends, you can start with maybe, writing an ebook like I mentioned before. You can do a WordPress plugin or a Shopify add-on if you're a developer. And then you keep repeating that. And the beauty of that is that those things are kind of software as a service because you are not serving clients all the time, but they sell very little, like you cannot make a lot of money with it. But what you can do is you can keep saving so you have like a good amount of money maybe for 24 months if you want to quit it all and try something more difficult and more promising like SaaS. So that's the approach that he recommends, which you can Google. There's more to it, and I think you would like it if you were thinking about doing something like that. These are some examples of people that run a company of one, and they're pretty amazing numbers. So this is the first one. It's AJ. You can find him on Twitter. It's card.com. It's pretty much one-pager websites. You can go in the app and build a page for yourself, for your client. It's only one page. Now I think he got an investment for $2 million or more, and he has another employee, but he got it to $1 million by himself completely. I think it took him about, 3-4 years to do that, but he was doing at one point more than $1 million on his own without any employees whatsoever and serving, I think, now he has about 5 million clients in total, free and paid, but at that point he was probably around 1 million or 2 million. He also has free clients, so people can use this for free. So that's an outlier. I mean, I don't know anybody else who does that, but that's one of them. Damon Chen is another one. He's on his own currently as we speak. He has this product, testimonial.to, and he's currently doing $350,000 per year. And you can find him on Twitter. His numbers are public. You can track his progress and all. And he's by himself completely. So he's doing that. Marie Eng is another one. She now took an investment as well and has, I think, 2 more employees. But her numbers are not public, but from some podcasts and some places that she shared her information, she was around 10 or 20,000 per month. And she was by herself at that point too. These are couples, so people that work together, partners, life partners. They do about $5K a month. They're a couple. He's a marketer, Dagobert, that's his name, French. He does marketing and code, I think, and his wife is a designer. And the product does logos. You can go in there and set up a logo for yourself. There's another one. Leave Me Alone app. Numbers are public, so you can follow them on Twitter as well. You can check them out. They do about 10K or more per month. The last number was that. Probably they're doing more right now. And Daniel Vassallo that I mentioned in the beginning. So, you can follow them on Twitter and maybe learn more from them how they did it. How to beat loneliness. So joining communities, online communities are fine. I'm a part of a few Slack communities that are made of people that what I do. So it's like-minded people. I don't get as bored. Giving back, what I'm doing right here, just to be in front of people more. And it's a great thing if you can afford a mentor. If somebody that roots for you, somebody's that keeping you accountable. Because one hard thing about working alone is that you really don't have responsibility towards someone else. And it's very hard to keep the motivation up, because in the morning, if nobody's waiting for you to do something, it's kind of hard, to get up and do it. If you have a boss or if you have a client, you sort of have to. So it's great if you have, either if you're a part, maybe like like a group of small people, like 3, 4, where you keep each other accountable. The way I did it, which I don't recommend as much, but I'm part of certain groups. I'm not part of small groups. I've done that before. I didn't like it as much. But right now, what I'm doing, I'm keeping everything transparent. It's in the open. So if you go to my profile on Twitter, you can pretty much see how much money I have personally. And I track everything, how my business is doing. And what that does for me is creates context for me. So I just received an investment, and it went so quick. I got the money for maybe 7 days from the point the investor contacted me. And the reason he went that fast is because they knew everything about me. They knew how much money I'm making, how I'm going about running my business. So there wasn't much back and forth or, due diligence to see if everything I'm saying is true. So that's one way to go about it. There's a lot of people that do that. It's kind of hard because you have to keep up with it a lot. Like I find myself sometimes writing too much. Instead of working, I'm writing and, filling out Excel sheets of how my money is, progressing or going down, etc. So that's the hard part. But it's a good way to, meet people and people know more about you. And the transparency part is really good because, it makes you more genuine. So people don't, so have less, I guess, questions when they want to deal with you directly. So that's how I'm doing it. Channels of growing your business or yourself, social media, Twitter. I use Twitter a lot. Twitter is great. If you're in tech, if you're doing a tech product, Twitter is amazing. There's a lot of people. It's hard to grow. It's easier, I think, to grow on LinkedIn and TikTok. But I think LinkedIn is more for professional, sort of like, I don't do it much, so I don't know. If you're like looking for jobs, trying to build a career, I think LinkedIn is better for that. And if you're running a B2B product, I think it's much better for that. But if you're doing sort of what I'm doing or what I'm proposing to do here, Twitter is a great place to do that. And what's the end goal? Like why to do this? The reason I do this is to have financial freedom. So I can take off anytime, have more money in the bank, be able to maybe eventually take my kids to a better school when they grow up. And that's what I'm doing all that. And the end of it is to automate as much of it as possible so I don't have to work on it on a day-to-day basis. And then do it for as long as possible, as long as these businesses are profitable, and then eventually exit. Whatever, I'm doing SaaS, so SaaS is much easier to sell instead of if you're doing ebooks or freelancing, because you cannot sell yourself. You can only sell your work. Freelancing, if somebody were to buy you, there's nothing to buy. They can hire you, maybe give you a better salary, but they can't buy the thing that you're building. With SaaS, you don't have to go with a product. You can basically sell the product to a company and then stay where you are, do something else. So that's sort of the end goal. Exit, and then keep making products, invest in others, who are coming up, etc. And that's it. I'm on Twitter there. And that's a quote I like a lot, so thank you for listening. All right.